Lord, if it is you telling me to come, come. Lord, save me. You man of little faith, why did you doubt? They were over and over, okay? I'm not sure. Some yeah. Sneer, we sit here. But we don't need it. Now he was sure. Because of them. Oyoberu way. In medicine will be about what you thought is Jesus. First of all, I want to express my joy along with all the Christian communities in Nigeria who today for the first time are able to celebrate Sunday liturgy with their congregation. All the parishes and communities and the state, Lagos State and Ogun State, have not been able to celebrate since March with any congregation. But today, they are starting respecting the provisions of the NCDC. Those of us who have been celebrating, striving to respect those provisions, don't know what we have been enjoying. And I'm saying that I want you to know a disobedient Catholic cannot be a good Catholic. If you don't obey your bishop, you will not obey Jesus Christ. And here did you cry, you come up with disobedience. You will get all sorts of listeners. If you don't believe in the government, at least do it because the bishop has told you to do it. You may notice I'm not wearing one today for the first time in 4 months. But I'm making sure nobody is 2 meters near me to protect them, protect myself. This is not a joke. Jesus had finished feeding the thousands of people, and he asked the disciples, the apostles, to get into the boat and move to the other side of the lake. They left him alone there, and he retired to where he would be alone. Some translations in English say he compelled the apostles. He forced them literally. And they obeyed him. And they entered the boat. And we are crossing to the other side of the lake. In obedience. Why did he have to send them away and remain alone? Go and read John chapter 6. The account of the feeding of the 4,000. After Jesus fed the thousands in John's account, in verse 15 of John chapter 6, they wanted to make him a king. Don't forget that the disciples, the apostles themselves, expected Jesus to be a triumphant Messiah. So very easily there could have been revolution. He did not want it. And the presence of the apostles could have complicated the situation. He sent them away. Go, let me handle this situation. In our setting, some people will say, Bishop, Father, you can't handle this. Allow us to deal with these people. I am married Jesus. They obeyed him. And he retired to to be alone at prayer, to reunite himself with the Father, to make sure he wouldn't be swayed by popular acclamation and thus abandon the path that the Father had set out for him. While he was communing with the Father in obedience to the will of the Father, the apostles were in the sea in obedience to the word of the Son, and they got into trouble while obeying. It's the first book of Kings, chapter 19, that we just listened to in the first reading. In chapter 18, Elijah had confronted the prophets of Baal. There were 400. The entire Israel had been swayed by false prophets, and there are many in Nigeria now, claiming to be gifted Pentecostal ministers, claiming to be gifted priests, claiming to be gifted brothers and sisters, but obeying nobody except their own fantasies. And many Christians are swaying. Elijah stood his ground, challenged all those false prophets, and God showed who was the true prophet. Elijah should have been triumphant. He had reasons to say, "Nah, I'm in charge." But he did and overstepped his bound. God inspired him to show he was the true prophet. And I'm not sure God ordered him to slaughter the prophets of Baal, but he did. And he got into trouble. In chapter 19, when Jezebel vowed to destroy him, Elijah ran for his life. But he was not only running for his life. In verse 4 of chapter 19, you hear Elijah saying, "Look, this is enough. Look, I'm a naga. Everyone who let only this God who will protect him, let him take my life." And he ran into the forest, into the wilderness, took his disciple, and at the point he told him to wait, and went for a day's journey, and then he lay down. Now we heard what happened. If you continue from verse 14, because we stopped at verse 13 of chapter 19 of the first book of Kings, God asked him, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" All your people have abandoned you. Israelites have forgotten their covenant. And so many prophets have dealt with. I am the only person now left, and they want to kill me. And they're asking me, what am I doing here? Kill me because I'm not better than my forefathers. One of the greatest temptations of Satan is to tell you that once you obey God's voice, you will not have any problems. Once you are a faithful son of God, He will send His angels to protect you, and no harm can come upon you. It is yes in the Psalms that it said the devil can use it to deceive you. He used it to try to deceive Jesus. The entire book of Job was written to correct that impression. There is no guarantee that when you are obedient to the will of God, you will not have problems. No. Look at what is happening around us in our individual lives and in our collective life. As church, as Christians, as a nation. We are surrounded by temptation, hardship, and the desire to solve the problem in our own way. Look at the world today. Whatever this COVID-19 is and where it came from, we don't know. The fact is that it is there and it is causing harm. Why don't we know politics, economy, the struggle between the powerful nations of the world, America, China, Russia, and the rest of Europe? The struggle for power and the control of the world economy has subjected scientists to the falsehood of making the truth of scientific discovery depend on political and economic interests. That is why we don't know how this problem can be cured and even where it came from. Sometimes I don't blame you for not believing that this virus is real, because government is telling you it is real, and no single truth comes from our government, not one. How many times have we listened to our government and we have been misled? They tell us they have taken control of the security of Nigeria. Nigerians are safe. Are we safe? From the northeast of Nigeria to the northwest, from the southeast to the southwest, from the north to the south. By the way, there is no north, but they created south to isolate the Igbos. No place is safe in this country. And let somebody tell the president of this country and commander-in-chief of the armed forces that our country is on its own, like a ship without a rudder, without a captain, and we are coasting into self-destruction. Soldiers have lost confidence in the government. Ordinary people have lost confidence in the government. While people are being slaughtered every day in this nation, while every inch of our farmland has been occupied by criminal gangs, I don't care whether they are Fulani or Igbo or Ijaw or Edo or even what do you call them? Igala or Idoma, because all ethnic groups are involved. Every inch of our farmland has been occupied by criminals. And what is the government busy doing? In 2020, they are already positioning and posturing for 2023. And whereas women cannot go to farms in the Igbo land, whereas our crops are destroyed in the Igbo land, whereas people cannot move around in southern Kaduna, the Igbo people are busy struggling about presidency of 2023. Stupidity. Ohaneze, IPOP, Ohaneze. Jidomedeke in 2020. Kaidron will go 2021. Before will go 2022 and 2023. And whereas the nation is burning, the two greatest parties, main parties in this country, political parties, I mean, the ruling party, the All People's Congress, the APC, and the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, there's no democracy there, the PDP, they are struggling for power in those states, in all those states, with all forms of illegality and brutality. And they want Nigerians to take them seriously. The temptation in this nation is for everybody, every man for yourself, and all of us want to protect ourselves. I've had occasions, not one, not two, to tell people in authority at the highest level in this country that our young people no longer believe us when we tell them to be calm. What point is there then in being obedient to the law, in being obedient to the will of God? That is the equation of the minds of all. Why should everybody not arm themselves and defend themselves? And I will repeat, no matter what happens, It will never be right for individuals and small groups to take the law into their hands. No, that would lead to total anarchy. What could be an alternative is that state governments set up their own parallel security apparatuses, train them, arm them, control them to protect the population. The federal might is no longer there. Our president is from anywhere in Africa. Is that what our constitution says? Is that what our laws say? But the problem is not only with the presidency. Because we see what is happening in EFCC, NBDC, and all small corporations and institutions in this country. No. Even in the church, there is total confusion everywhere. I just mentioned people who don't listen to their priests, they don't listen to their bishops, priests who don't listen to their bishops. That is not the worst. Some bishops and cardinals are openly opposing the Pope. There is so much turbulence in the church, and even among priests and bishops, so much abuse of power in their sexual abuse of minors and vulnerable adults, and in the misappropriation of church funds. They are all expressions of the abuse of power. You can only pray. Miren kendo ne sosike, ibu kendo ne fesike, ebele miren apagara, jukutara mepeni nenuwa. Chebemo, chebemo, chebemo. You pray. But remember, Jesus was far away. He was not near. But he knew his apostles were in trouble because they were where he sent them. If you keep on the path that God has marked for you, he will always notice when you need help. But if you jump out of the boat, you get into greater trouble. Now there is trouble and it's not there. Who knows what went through their minds? He knew. And he came. But that is not even enough. His presence does not immediately guarantee you a life without problems. Because in chapter 8 of Matthew's Gospel, he was in the boat with them. And they were sinking. And he was asleep. As he seems to be asleep in this turbulent time of COVID-19. Pope Francis composed regulations February. I am like idea so Bakibo Jimba Saudi take coronavirus. Other than the thing I'm telling you, I cannot live paid or not pass. Mark chapter 4 says, they went and woke him up. Yeah, my friend, are you not concerned that we are sinking? Lord, where are you? And he sends another person to tell you. Miri kendo nezo afulegu. Vivu kendo gete afulegu. Mokochi kendo afulegu. Miri na chineke kendo gibukire. Afulegu. Check the life of many of our Christians. The time they start to be more abiding, more about people here in the village. That is the time they suffer most in their offices, in their places of work, in the markets. Many of our faithful parents, many of our faithful spouses, married men and women, who have been faithful to their husbands, are the ones their husbands are maltreating, beating, and betraying, who have been faithful and respectful to their wives, and the ones their wives are insulting, disobeying, and you ask your God, what is it a sin to be obedient to God's will? Most of your married girls you see in the Catholic Church, they block rosary. Ba Mary League, she Mary League, Ba Altar Guest, Shelter Guest, Ba Sion, they don't want to pen on the Legion, pen on the Divine Mercy, pen on the spiritual blood, pen on the sacred blood. And I'm not going to believe it, you're not going to bother too much. And the song that I can look up to Catholic, oh, yeah, so come here, yeah, oh, yeah, give away Karoka, may I not or not, and it's 30, 35, 40, 50 years. Boy Saga said that if you want to progress, he have me who can do. In their families, people keep dying. Father dies, no cost. Mother dies, no cost. First son dies, no cost. Everybody keeps dying. As if they are not die again, it's not going to be easy to come and eat kuchuku. Mere maramo, ebene so Jesu. Mantirimo, ebene so Jesu. Miri maram, o maram manutero, ebene so Jesu, Jesu cheramo. You, man or woman of little faith, why did you doubt? I am there. I am there. Peter doubted, not just when he felt the wind, but even before he stepped out. These are our if prayers are not good prayers. Lord, if what? Are you putting conditions for God? The only if is if it is your will, I know to be God. Paul, in the second reading, was in pains. He had preached, explained the mission of Christ to the Jews. Not only that they did not accept it and wanted him killed, some of them went to the places he went, to Greece, and to Rome, to contradict his teachings. And Paul was so pained, said, even if I will be cut off from Jesus, provided my people are saved. Your obedience to God's will does not guarantee you a life without problems, but it will guarantee you that you'll be on a path where the grace of God will always meet you. Always. He will meet you there. One of the prayers of Pentecostals is they meet you at your point of need. It's a good prayer, and sometimes they give you a point and kill. God will always meet you there. Not where you want him to meet you, but where he knows you need him. Whether you ask for it or not. If you are tuned to his will, you will never miss his grace. But once you shift from that way, you can imagine what would have happened to the apostles if some of them jumped out of the boat. Now I want to tell you, the more turbulent the wind, the storm may become in the church, the more you should cling to that church, because Jesus is always there, and he will make sure that that church does not sink. The worse. If you move away from the rays of His grace, you have only yourself to blame. So He sent Elijah back. He joined the apostles in the boat. He will send you back to the community of His children. He will join you in the boat that is troubled. And no matter how that boat moves up and down, no matter how it is tossed up and down, remain gripping on all the handles you can find. The sacraments, your prayer life, works of charity, because the Lord is there. And sometimes He comes in the midst of storm. At other times, He meets you when you are quiet and you are not expecting Him to come. Whether in the storm or in the silence, God is always there.